Thanks for joining us here on High Plains History. I'm joined by John Forbis and Emily Bell of the Amarillo Children's Home. So tell me a little bit about how the Amarillo Children's Home got started. I mean, you guys are over 100 years old. So tell me a little bit.
So in 1923, Reverend Thompson, who was the pastor at Central Presbyterian Church at the time, now First Presbyterian Church, was having dinner with three of his good friends, Guy Saunders, Ed Harden, and Alan Early. Very civic-minded men. Were really looking to see how they could serve and care for a very fast-growing town. While they were dining, they looked out and they saw three boys on the street, and they were in distress. They were crying. They were ill-clothed. And so they brought them in and just got to know their story and learned that they had been abandoned. And so they found a place for them to go for the night. But then that began the conversation of we need a place to care for kids like this. That, you know, Amarillo is growing. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of great things happening. But that may not be everybody's story. That there may be families who are struggling to care for their kids, or kids in a situation like this that they had no place to go. And so that began the process of founding the Presbyterian Home for Children. And over the course of that year, they began to fundraise and really sell this vision to the community, to their church, of we need a place to care for kids in need. And so over that year, they purchased the Lowry Phillips School. It had been a boys' military academy. There were some other potential uses some other potential uses for that facility. And they purchased that building in 1924. That opened the Presbyterian Home for Children, and they began seeking and sending out letters, and began talking with other communities, and a lot of requests came in to them that, hey, we need a place for kids to go. And so March 1st, 1924, the doors opened and they began serving kids.
Yeah, we did a piece with you guys a couple years back about the 100 years of ACH, along with other groups here in town that celebrated 100 years. Like you were talking about, a lot of things were happening 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Like you said, the city was growing and everything like that. So what does it mean for you guys to celebrate 100 years alongside things like United Way and other things, to know that a lot of things were happening all at the same time in the city to either help people or just to grow Amarillo?
Yeah, I think we were talking even just preparing for this podcast, and a lot of things that were founded in people in our stage of life, in their mid 40s, and as a community is building, to have this heart of people of how do we add to the life, and how do we make this place better? How do we really grow the arts, and let's have a symphony. Hey, let's get the United Way started. Hey, we need a place to care for kids. It was just a really neat group of people that wanted to come in and not just try to find a good life for themselves, but how do we build a thriving community that they were very focused on. How do we grow the faith of our community? That you watch the way the churches grew in the 20s. How do we really add to the arts and add to the experience of the life here? It was a really special group of people. Excuse me, a very special group of people that really founded this, what we know now of Amarillo. So, yeah, and Emily, anything you would add in? Yeah.
Absolutely. When you look at people like Reverend Thompson, who at the time moved his family here from Tennessee to become the pastor of what we know now as the church as First Presbyterian, and when you look at men like Alan Early, Sr., and Reverend Thompson, Guy Saunders, who became very successful businessmen early on, worked very, very hard, and raised their families here, and just in the industries that we know and love, oil and gas, and agriculture, and different companies that they got up and running and off the ground, and very successful in their early 30s, and then by the time they were 40s and mid-40s, they were meeting and identified these children, but very quickly realized this is a widespread need. This is a widespread need, not just 3 orphans that we need to take in and clothe and house overnight. And by the time we open, that vision starting in 1923 in just a single year, a 12-month period of planning and fundraising, remembering that there was no state reimbursement at the time. This was 100% funded and supported by our community, by members who just did grassroots fundraising efforts and said, we need to do a letter campaign, and this is a widespread need, there are children who are hurting, we need to house them. And then it was so neat, they documented everything in board meeting minutes, everything handwritten. We have record of that. And like John referenced, this history book is a compilation of much of that, but also just skimming the top of all this deep, rich history, because there are handwritten records of the 400 to 500 children served just in the first 4 to 6 years. But these men, again, in their early 40s to late 40s, coming along in 1924, opening Presbyterian Home for Children, and realizing, okay, we've done well. We're growing not just our own company for ourselves, but recognizing, let's invest and partner with getting Amarillo Country Club off the ground and running, the Amarillo Symphony. They were involved in Rotary clubs and very, very civic-minded and community-minded. Like, this is not just a need, but a responsibility of successful business owners to invest and make sure that our most vulnerable population, children in need, are taken care of. And you look at this neat trend but you see some of the growth and the support changing from the 80s, John, where then CPS is more involved, where we have this organization, Presbyterian Home for Children, then becoming the children's home, because it is the greater Amarillo and now greater regional support across the Texas Panhandle that continues to make our mission possible. But when you look at a nonprofit that is now 102 years old almost, who was 100% funded by the community, then you see this trend of state reimbursement fees starting in the 80s, covering about 30% of our mission, and now covering more about a 50-50 split. It's just magnificent to see that the community support has always been behind it, and just continues to make this mission possible for our most vulnerable. It's just powerful.
Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about, obviously you guys are still not in the Lowry Phillips military academy. So tell me a little bit about how long they were in there, and I guess why they got away from being in that building.
Yeah, so I think with a lot of the buildings in the 20s, it was a great place for kids. It was a safe place for them to go, and really to watch the way the community came around the kids and gave them a place was fantastic. But it didn't have electricity, didn't have running water, didn't have heat. And so in the 30s, they began to look at doing some renovations and try to get some of those, try to get electricity into the building, really improve some of the facilities there at Lowry Phillips. Excuse me. But what really changed was the idea of, there's a word that's very common in the foster care world called normalcy. That what we would want for a kid to be in a home with siblings, with parents, going on family outings and having a family meal together at a table, that's normalcy. And they, in the 30s, and it was very forward thinking at the time, they saw that, hey, while we've got a safe place for kids, and we're trying to do some things to improve the facilities, this is really not that normalcy feel that we would want for the kids. We want them to have a home and to have a house, to have kind of a sibling feel, have a parent, and that's where they began. Style. More family style, and so that's where they began dreaming. And the Wolfland neighborhood was beginning to develop. It was still on the outskirts of town. If I remember right, it was. Prior to that, it was dairy and agricultural land, and it really just started to get developed, beginning to develop. And so they purchased where we are now from Wolfland. And
Mr.
from Charles Wolfland,
for $8,500.
Yeah, $8,500 bought the 10 acres that we're on now. And then that began the dreaming and visionary process of, let's begin to build houses for the kids. So in the late 40s, they built our current administration building in the middle of campus. and then 3 cottages, 3 homes on Bowie Street. And those opened, I think it was in 1949,
Yes.
47, I think 49. And so the 3 cottages on the east side of our campus were built, and they moved the kids into a home where they had, it was more family style. They had a house mom. They had dinners together, and that really began what we know now of that family group home
Yes.
style cottage. So anything you'd want to add to that?
Jack, we want you to come and see sometime one of our family style homes. And to this day, you can go in Union Cottage, which received its name because union workers built the cottage, came collectively and poured in and invested. And all of our homes are named after, from our Guy Saunders Cottage to our Hardin Cottage, are named after our founders and have significant meaning. But those dining tables that John's talking about, some are original still and have maybe an updated top to that table, but some of those have had children at them sitting and talking about, from war stories to, new technology stories and school, from Amarillo High School when it was downtown in Amarillo, Texas, instead of its current location on Bell Street. But absolutely, living family style, it was just critical that we go from, this is by no means an orphanage as it was at the old sanatorium on Northwest 13th. The Lowry Phillips building. This is family style living and a solid, loving, least restrictive environment, if you will. And we in residential care, it's a group home, but we really prioritize that normalcy where kids can hang out with their friends and visit their family, and we celebrate lots of family reunifications. Our house parents do today live in an adjacent apartment complex that is adjacent to the cottage and connected, so they have a little bit of separation, but they're there, and we have eyes on kids 24/7. Round the clock, a direct caregiving team, so that there's good accountability and good reporting on every detail of that child's life, and especially their future, their next steps. So that's always our goal for them, is to care and restore them, and then pour into them and individually invest. So yeah, I just love some of the history here, that those dining tables, especially you look at Union Cottage and you think, goodness gracious, how many decades, here we are, 2026, and that's the same dining table that we've eaten meals on and helped kids with their homework at, since 1949. It's pretty special.
The stories I could tell.
Yes.
Oh, I know.
Yes.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Yes.
And I think it's what's been fun looking back at the history and talking with people who lived at the children's home in whether it's the 2000s or the 1950s. You just see while so much has changed in that amount of time, there's so much that's still the same. The core truths, the principles are the same. That faith very much drives what we do at the children's home. But then what happens and the life and the conversations that happen at a dinner table. That's just remarkable that kids are kids and they've been kids, and the amount of shaping and learning that happens in a home, and that's what we've been really blessed to be part of.
Yes.
Now, obviously, you guys don't just have the 3 homes anymore. You
Sure,
guys have
yeah.
more. So
Yeah.
So how many homes do you guys have now?
So we have the homes on the east side of campus. We now have 4 on Bowie Street, the east side of campus. In the early 50s, we built 3 more homes on Hawthorne, so on the west side of our campus. We have 2 family-style cottages there. Or cottage has been typically an administrator's quarters, so kind of like a superintendent home, whatever the title has changed over the 100 years. So those homes were built in the early 50s, and then in 2007, we built Pickens Cottage on the southwest corner of campus, and that is what's called transitional living, or transitional living concepts home, and that is typically upperclassmen in high school, juniors and seniors, that we're trying to give them a little bit more independence, really preparing them for life after high school. When kids in foster care turn 18, they automatically age out of care. Now they can select to sign back into care, but at 18, they may be on their own. And so that transitional living concepts home is all about getting them ready for life after 18. And So how can we prepare them with job skills, interview skills,
Yes, budgeting,
budgeting, cooking, shopping, all of those things that are just getting them ready for life of independence. That's our Pickens Cottage. So that was built in 2007. In 2016, 18, Merritt Cottage was purchased. That is our home right across the street. It's on the corner of Bowie and 34th. And that has traditionally been our aftercare home. And so we may have a youth that they graduate high school, they've kind of aged out of care, but they could use a place to live and need maybe a little more support for that next stage of life. And that has been Merritt Cottage. And so that's our aftercare home. That program has shifted a little bit. There's a newer model called supervised independent living. That the state now provides some reimbursement and sees the need for caring for youth ages 18 to 21. And so that Merritt Cottage is our 18 to 21-year-old program. And that is helping kids that, hey, they're ready for next steps, but they still need some support. They may need some help with transportation, getting to jobs, going to school.
A productive 40-hour week, if you will, with accountability and a life skills coach, not house parents, but like John said, that 18 to 21 years old, young adults, and it's extended foster care is what it is, the program through the state. And so supervised independent living, we have Amarillo College and WT right here in our own backyard, and technical and trade schools right here, and so many opportunities to learn and grow. And so, but like John said, as with a safety net, 18 years old, you're not quite ready to just go out and not have any support. And so that's why the statistics are so grim for children aging out of care, and showing that 33% can be at extreme risk for homelessness and other hardships, if not supported. And so to have rent and a stipend for cell phone and support, a life skills coach for not parenting, independence, but gentle accountability for that 40-hour productive work week, it's just powerful. Some are ready for post-secondary education, and some need a work program. And we have so much to offer in this community. So happy to have that program.
Yeah.
And how many are in that program now?
We have 6 in the program right now. Yeah.
So we're seeing it grow.
And I've gone to several events you guys have had, and whether it's the reunions that are out there or just other events, and it always feels like a family out there.
Right.
It always feels like these kids are out there, and it just feels like their family.
Yeah.
So what does it mean for you guys to have that, to where these kids may be coming from different backgrounds or things like that, but they're family out there? What does that mean?
Yeah, that like we talked about, that's what we're wanting to provide for kids, that whatever their story of what family looked like for them before, whether that was sometimes that may be a very negative thing, sometimes there's a lot of positive in their story of what family looks like, but whatever it is, our heart is to give a really solid, restored view of what family looks like, who the kid's identity is, how they can then go be a blessing to others. And so that's what we're trying to provide is a family environment. So things from just what we want to do in the home, we try to provide opportunities, and this is where our community has just been wonderful. I'm blessed in a position that I get to take my family to a Sod Poodles game. There's so much just joy and interaction and memories made of me sitting with my kids playing catch at a Sod Poodles game. Well, our community comes behind, and the number of times we get a phone call that say, "Hey, I've got Sod Poodles tickets for your homes," and that home gets to go as a family and watch the Sod Poodles, or go to the rodeo, go to ALT. All of those opportunities we have in our community is not only are we trying to foster a family feel in the home at the dinner table, but out and about in the community. And so we're blessed. The kids get to do things like that. We've had sponsors who've come behind us for a long time and have said, "Hey, we would love for your kids to have a family vacation." And so our cottages may go drive to Lubbock and go to a concert in Lubbock. They may rent an Airbnb in Central Texas and go do a family vacation like any of us would, who have that opportunity for our kids. And so those are things that we try to provide. We do in the summertime a family camp where all of our cottages go to the mountains, and it kind of like youth camp. And it's time together. It's shared experiences. It's kids who have never have never left Amarillo and have never seen the mountains get to go and experience what the mountains are like. You know, my first summer at ACH, to hear an 18-year-old get out of the van and had never seen pine trees and mountains and all that comes with being in Colorado. It was incredible, but with that it's such a bonding time of those shared experiences, doing things together. That is really special.
Yeah.
We joke and we a lot, and we try to foster a community that you have house mom and dad, but next door might be aunt and uncle. I think
Yes.
we're blessed in a position of. My parents taught me things, but also the family friends that I got to go over to their house, or the neighbor that I got to go spend some time with, the dad or the mom, and got to learn skills and see different things through that. That's what we're trying to provide on our campus. That not only are they connecting with their house parents, but they're going to family camp and they're playing basketball with their neighbor, the house parent next door, and there's another set of adults in their life that are investing into them, that shape and give them a really healthy view of this is what family looks like.
Yes. And Jack, if I can add to that, I don't know. I love that question because when you think about, and thank you for coming to our reunion, those homecoming reunions mean so much. And I've been able to see how it means different things to different people, because sometimes we'll have someone who was in our care for only a few months, and now she is a business owner and active in civic groups and a leader, female leader in this community, and she'll say, I was here just for 4 months. Well, my father was in prison, but here's what it meant to me. And so it was restoration. Some people, there's nurse practitioners in this town who were an alumni, we say a grown-up ACH kid, forever a part of the ACH family, who will say, it wasn't the best time in my life. It was the hardest time in my life, but now she's still family and she can come and reflect. And so when we do have those reunions and those homecoming times, it's neat to just pause and let each alumni come and reflect on the home and the Amarillo Children's Home as it was home for them in their time, in their generation. And it was different for each one. We have Bo Rucker, who lives in Oklahoma, and he wouldn't mind me mentioning his name, and he came, and he just needed to pause. And he drove in for 4 hours to a reunion, and we said, don't leave. Take your time out on the porch. And he came back in and first got a good chuckle because he looked at our parquet floors and said, I can't tell you how many times I came in and polished these, cleaned these parquet floors and washed these floors. And we laugh because times are a little different now. We would just take care of the floors, and we don't have our kids or our teenage boys clean the parquet floors, but Bo Rucker did. And so, Kristen, who served for 25 years, a quarter of a century, gave him a tour of his cottage, one of his first homes, Hardin Cottage on the corner. And so it's just different. It's a different experience for Christian Jackson, who is another female business owner. And she and her sister were in our care after their mom was murdered tragically. And it's life and it's home for them. And they say, some of our alumni have said, when we said, what does it mean to you coming home? What does that mean to you? And they have said, it's just a place that physically I can connect with. And this was my home for 5 years. And so I don't have a childhood home that I can go drive past Harvard Street and say, there's Tripp Street, there's Harvard. I grew up there. They say, this is it. This is so I can come and reconnect. And in that way, it's not just the physical presence, but a part of it is, And so they can connect with us as their new family members, some of us who've only been there for 3 years or 5 years, but we still are family, like we are to Donald Wood, who lived in our care for 11 years and is now, lives in South Texas. And the coolest thing is so many of these alumni are also major donors, major financial supporters of our mission and ministry to this day. And they appreciate when John talks about things like baseball games and restoring normalcy and giving these kids experiences like boxing lessons and dance lessons for our girls, or theater or choir trips, whatever it may be. Our alumni really appreciate that because they know what it's like to live in care and they want to be seen and heard. And they're not just a child in foster care. They're by no means a number. It's a story. It's a human life, a story, and what we want to provide is anything they want. If they want to become a dancer, if they want to try baseball for a season and they hate it and they don't want to do it again, fair enough. we just want them to have a real life and see that they're not invisible and that our community cares. And so I love it that some of our major supporters and investors to this day are alumni who've lived there through the years, through the different generations. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Emily, just on my next thing, what can people do here in the community when it comes to helping you guys? Like you said, provide experiences or just help out if they want to help out.
Yeah, I think you said it well. Providing experiences, that's a huge one for our kids. I know I'm very often take for granted the opportunities that I have and the experiences that I have got to be a part of, and so it's providing experiences for kids. Our homes love that. The kids love that. I kind of always tell people it's wherever God has put you, whatever your place is, whatever your mission is, it can touch our kids in incredible ways. If you're called to teach third grade Sunday school at your church and our kids go there, that what you are doing, I'm getting emotional on this one. The impact that you are making by walking in obedience to that calling of teaching third grade Sunday school to our kids is life-changing. The stories that have come out of, hey, it was the children's home, but it was the people at church that we went with that also took me in, that also cared for me and loved me. That was a huge part of my transformation story. We have a young man in our program, and when he came into the children's home, I don't know if he was very resistant to the home, to the house parents, to the kids, but to watch a group of 60, 70, 80-year-old men and women at his church that kind of took him in, that was a huge part of his transformation story. So it's being faithful in the little things, faithful if our kids are going to church with you, it's engaging them, loving them, welcoming them in. Everything from we are incredibly blessed at Christmas time. Christmas, it's fun looking back that even the very early stories of the children's home was how at Christmas time people cared for our kids. So we have sponsors who care for our kids at Christmas and provide Christmas gifts. And one of the things that was really eye-opening last year was we asked a young man to fill out a Christmas list. He was 17 years old, and he had never filled out a Christmas list before. He didn't know what to do. And so to not only fill out a Christmas list, but then to have these community partners come in and provide that for him was phenomenal. So it's Christmas gifts. It is, we love to do a lot of summer activities and take care of our kids for the summertime. Summer is also a time that kids are new and coming and going. And so kids coming in, ready for summer, they might need flip-flops and swimsuits and towels, and so we'll do in-kind drives. And so that's a huge way to support the ministry. I know there's an endless list. What am I know
right now
that.
Currently, yes, our from Bonham and Sleepy Hollow Puckett Elementary, we'll do toilet paper drives, just anything our cottages that your home needs, our cottages and our families, our homes need as well. So yes, toilet paper, feminine hygiene for all of our girls. There used to be a time where our census on campus was heavier on girls and teenage girls than young men. We're seeing more of a balance of 50-50 split to girls and guys right now, but we always need feminine hygiene products, toilet paper, paper goods. You better believe in the summer with kids, 30 kids on campus and families, we go through red Solo cups and paper towels and yes, please to paper plates. And so just the practical things that could you use some pizza tonight? Or we're receiving a new child tonight, or we're reuniting a child and saying goodbye so that this child will go off into a new foster care placement home or is going to be adopted into a Texas Texas family, and so great. We could all use some extra hugs and some pizza at the doorstep tonight. That would be super. So just those practical things of loving like we do. And what John said, I would just add to our school teachers, because it is that Sunday school teacher that just loves on and accepts our kids in church and makes them feel welcome, like they're a part. And they are a part. It's also how much our kids change us, because they're so vivacious, and our volunteers will come and engage and provide a summertime meal, and they'll say, we know they've been through hardship and through so much unspeakable things often, but they're so joyful. Our kids are often filled with so much joy, and it blows away our volunteers at times. But I would add to that our school teachers, because our kids go to AISD schools primarily, Coronado Elementary and Austin Middle School and Tascosa High School. And, so anything that's happening in those communities, they are encouraged by or rocked to the core by what's happening in those schools. And I've talked with those some teachers and some counselors and seen them at different events at Austin Middle School, and they're very aware, who's living in our care, what students in their class or in their choir program, attend Coronado or Austin or Tascosa, and they're just phenomenal. And so really praise to our teachers and educators and principals and faculty, all of them, for just, I mean, if it's a high five in the hallway, goes a long way, just to encouraging our kids and knowing that their story's a little bit harder, their story's a little bit different. And if they ever want to come through and tour a cottage and see one of the kiddos' bedrooms and have a meal with us, you just let us know. And we don't mean we're not 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. We can be open at 7 o'clock for a tour or a pizza party, because it's life. These kids live in our care. It's not just, we're closed. But we protect their privacy, and for their sake, for their protection, because they're going to age out of care and be contributors, and you can share this. They're going to turn 18 and maybe live and work, a lot of them, in this community, or return and be reunited with their family, their uncle who just lives 7 blocks away, or what have you. And so it's very important to us for their next steps in life and their next phase, whether they're working a part-time job at Sonic or Dillard's or whatever. It's our kids, it's our community. We'll never show their faces, or we try not to say their first names, because they'll live here and maybe go into an SIL program and then get a job or an internship here. And we don't ever want anyone to look down on them because they had a start in foster care. That part of their story is for them to tell at the timing that they so choose. We want our kids to have abundant favor with future employers and future potential and opportunities. And so that's our heart.
Because it's that home environment. I have 3 kids, 10 to 13, and those things that for a family with kids or teenagers, what would bless that family would bless our families.
Yes.
And so hey, we're going to drop off pizza.
Yes.
Wow, what a treat tonight, or hey, we've got extra tickets for this. Would y'all want to come? Yes, yes, we'll be there. Those opportunities we want to provide for our kids is the same thing for our homes, and that those kinds of things go a long way. We're about 60% of our funding comes through support from our community, from foundations, from local businesses. Those in-kind donations, those go a long way to help us provide the care that we can for our kids. A really unique way to get involved with ACH now, we are now able to license foster families in the community. And so for 102 years, the way to be involved at Amarillo Children's Home was to come be a part and come be on campus. But now that could be in your own home. That maybe your way of supporting the kids at Amarillo Children's Home is to support the greater foster care need. We need more places for kids to go. And so if that is your home, if that is, hey, I would take in a kid, and this kid could come stay with me until a biological family member gets on their feet, and he could go be reunited with family. Or look, whether that's maybe a long-term, a foster to adopt, the ministry can now be in your home, providing respite care for a foster family, taking emergency placement, whatever that looks like. It may now be in your home, and then you get to watch how the community that's come around Amarillo Children's Home, our campus for 102 years, come around and support you. That's a really unique way to be involved with ACH now.
Yeah, and Jack, that extends across your viewership area, the greater Texas Panhandle. We are licensed by the state of Texas for Region 1. That's the greater Texas Panhandle. It's 41 counties across the Texas Panhandle region. So we can license a home in Borger, Hereford, Perryton, Pampa, Texas, to train licensed support, to become foster parents. And like John said, ultimately the goal may be family reunification, but to keep a baby here instead of sending a baby in foster care down to South Texas is really a blessing for the mom and for the biological family members. And then often the outcome is a positive family reunification. And sometimes it is adoption and next steps, but fostering our foster care homes program and being able to serve foster children across the Texas Panhandle and to keep them local and to even bring them home where they can be in a local foster family instead of being down south is really vital right now.
Thank you guys for sharing the history of the Amarillo Children's Home and all you do here in the community for those kids. I can't add any more. I mean, it's fantastic.
Well, thank you. We're just blessed. We're blessed to be part of a ministry that's been around for so long, and the stories around ACH, our kids, the way the communities come around our kids are fantastic. And you guys have shared our story, and we appreciate you guys
so much.
really partnering with us for a long time
Yes.
and sharing the work that we do. Thank you for y'all supporting us.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Your whole team, production team from PSAs for our special events, showing up and capturing meaningful stories like Amarillo High School bringing food and funds for 93 years, and you're always there. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate it, guys. Thanks for joining us here on High Plains History.
Thank you.